this thing out. Let's see if you guys can hear me. Let's do our normal checks. Get some people on here. You guys hear me, Seth? Hear me yet? I need to fix this. Alright, yeah. I'm messing around with my audio right now. Making sure it's loud enough. Sweet. Clear. Alright. So we'll go ahead and start this. More people will join. Should have put out a thing on Twitter right away that said we were live. So make sure that that's going. And then we'll get started here. We're going to do a few different 370 rigs. I already got a couple of them built. I wasn't going to waste everybody's time with, you've seen me build a couple of these. I did a couple different ones. This is a 5-card rig with a lot thinner angled aluminum. We'll unplug this to get kind of a better look. But it's much, much thinner sheets of angled aluminum. It's, as you can see, it's really super rigid though. I mean, this thing, I can spin this thing all around and it's super tight. With a little lighter design on that, just to see. We have a lot of people that send us messages about, hey, 6 cards are cool, but that stuff's expensive. So something like this originally was going to be a 3-card rig, where you could really just put, and I actually had the holes drilled for it here, here, and here to give good separation. It keeps it cheap. You'd still use the H81 Pro BTC board down there. You can kind of see that. And then the power supply fits really nicely in there. And I actually have it. Let me flip it around. I actually have a pretty nice, it kind of just tucked right in there. It's got one set of screws on it right now to kind of hold it in. But it's a lot smaller and a lot easier to handle. With these 370s, they don't heat up a ton compared to like the 390s and 390Xs. They do get hot, and the actual heat sinks will be hot to the touch, especially on these MSI ones that I have here. And I kind of mixed this rig a little just to I wanted to try a couple different 370s out. So we'll cover some of the 370 cards. I wanted to make sure I got a different set. I got 3 different types to see the differences. Went with the Sapphire Nitros, and they're not too bad. The 370s on that, and then the MSI stock overclocked. All these are 4 gig cards too. We obviously know with Ethereum mining, we're going to try to keep with 4 gigs, and the older 3 gig cards are still fine with the DAG file, but that one. And then we went with I have a 6-card rig I'll bring up here in a second that's already built behind me, and we put 6 of these 370 strict editions. These are actually pretty nice, but the actual sizes of the cards are interesting. These MSIs are friggin' huge. I mean, these are almost the same size as the 390s. Same PCB size almost. And then the Nitros are a little smaller. And then you'll see the strict are about like that. So they went with a really small PCB on it and just a little overhang on the cooler, but they fit real nicely in a smaller 6-card rig. Usually our 6-card rigs are 21 inches this way, so it'll come out to about here to allow some good, about 2 inches per card gap. You'll see in that other rig we actually went 16 inches this way, 16 by 16, so it's a big 16-inch box. And for you non-empirical folks, grab a measuring tape. So, oh, and this one doesn't have it. I thought I had one with centimeters on it. I'll tell you how many centimeters are in that, because I am not doing that on the top of my head. But we will post up what that difference is, because I get a lot of questions too, actually asking me to do the math on that. But we'll try that out. I also got the kilowatt here, so when we plug this in, you'll get to see what this rig does. And we put in this one. Let me see if I got the case on this one. The 850. I'm a big fan of Platinum power supplies. I just like their efficiencies a lot better. So I went with a Platinum 850P2 from EVGA. This is a good power supply. I haven't had any issues with any of these Platinum ones. I will do an episode for a 850 gold and 850 silver, and yes, I'll spend and waste the money and buy a bronze power supply, and I will show the difference on the same rig, because a lot of people ask me the question like, hey, I get bronze power supplies, they're cheap, what is the actual output difference? So we'll try that out and see how that works, and we'll get that going. So we'll let's see if we can get this thing building or turned on. Additionally, in this live stream, we're about 8 minutes in now, I am going to go through a fresh build of EthOS. And just like if you're a dude watching this, you know, after the live stream or whatever, and you're like, you know what, I got a couple cards I'm going to throw together in just a normal computer, and I want to try this out, maybe dual boot and let it run overnight or something. How the hell do I use Linux, and how do I update my wallet, all that kind of stuff? I get a ton of those kind of questions, so I'm going to just walk you through. We'll put the video on the actual screen so you can see it in real time. And I'll teach you some basic commands on like VI and how to change and how to get it to change your wallet address. You know, you got to hit insert, you got to type in your address, and yeah, we'll get that going. So let's go ahead and get this thing plugged in, and we'll go through the settings I found for these cards across all of them. I'm using the same settings on this, but individually, these MSIs and these Sapphires were very close, hashing about the same out of the box. I think they were at about 13.2 mega hash a piece. I think now I'm closer to, I think 15, 16 mega hash a piece on them. But we'll take a look and get it going on there. I'll ask a few folks some questions. If they have any questions on there, or answers to any questions that they see on there, we'll get this thing booted up and fired up. Again, H81 Pro BTC. We got the normal dual core Intel processor. Hold on, I'm getting. You're not getting much video? Oh, okay, hold on real quick. Let me see if I can get this audio video syncing issue off. That video looks good. Let's see here.
Sound comes out before your lips move.
Not running on audio delay. Let's take a quick look while that's booting, and I don't have a network cord cable plugged in. Let's look here. While that thing's booting, we'll see if we can fix this audio delay.
You want to see the cup for that gallery?
I do not have a delay. I'm here. Yeah, it might have to be for the next video, folks, where I get this thing synced up. I'll play around with it. Show no delay on there, but obviously you guys are saying I have a delay with the audio is in real time and the video is way behind it. I do show on YouTube I'm getting a yellow health on my stream though. We're gonna get a couple things plugged in here for I can actually control this. And let's see if I can get the camera pitched where you guys can see this. Alright, so in this particular rig, now this one's already pre-configured, and we'll go into local.config. Which the settings that we're using on this particular one, and let me know if you can't see these. I got the fan set to 100 right now, and the actual rig is holding pretty decent temps. I mean, you can see on there it's about 55. You can actually run these at about 70 global fan settings there. So once you come into that VI local config, you can come in here. This is where you change your proxy wallet. I'm still working on EthPool right now. And then the settings on the core and the MIM we have right now is 1175 and 1600. These 370s love that setting. All three of the types that we're trying tonight, through a lot of different testing, running at about 1150, 1125. I tried 1200. It wasn't very stable. But 1175 has worked on all three of these R7 370s. So that global core 1175 and 1600 memory and the power tune of 20. That gives these 5 cards here, they're holding about 75 to 73 mega hash for 5. If I get back out and just tell that, you can see it's holding, most of them are all holding that 75, 70, pretty constant. Now these out of the box, this rig was about 62 mega hash. So with those settings, I got about another 10 mega hash out of it. And the other main part is how much power is it using. Well, let's slide this over here. See if we can get a good shot of that. And about 660 watts right now on this entire rig. So this is on that 850 platinum and with a lot of overhead. So 670 is about what it's holding, 664, somewhere around there. That's with the fans at 100%. So we'll get look at a couple of these questions real quick. The global hash rate. Well, so if you take a look, we've been looking. The question on there is how long will Ethereum be profitable? Well, if you look at what the hash rate has went up over the last few months, and I'll bring that up real quick and see if I can throw it on the screen. Let's see here. It went up pretty exponentially over since about March 5th-ish to even now. It's kind of curved off. I had it going up like a lot of Litecoin did in November, just to see in November of 13, and it is not taking that same curve. It's at about 2,500, 2,300 total hash rate right now. And it really tells off. Let's see if I can get this chart shared real quick. We'll add a source here. And we'll throw it on the screen here. Throw this over here for right now. Let's see what it looks like on your guys' screen here. So if we look at the hash rate, and this is really, really, really small. So let me see if I can get you down here. So around February, it was about 970. or about six. It went from 600 to about 900 to March, and it's at about 2,400 now. Well, that's a pretty substantial curve. If you look at it really telling off in the last month, it's held that 200 since about mid-April to now. It's only went up a couple hundred points. That slowing is for a couple reasons. It's not necessarily that a lot of people are moving away from it. A lot of people are doing it, taking a lot of the 2 gig cards offline, powering those down. I've seen a lot of farms move their 7950s and 7970s away now to try to go with more efficient rigs. So in those transition, I think a lot of that transition is going on right now. Now that may peak it up, but this general curve, if you forecast all the way out to, let's say, November is when they end up trying to implement proof of stake, you may, it may double from that. I mean, our forecast right now, I think, has it going to like 5,900 by like October. So that's double what it is now. So I mean, if you put in the calculator your current hash rate right now, and if let's say the price holds, you're not looking at you're looking at having your daily input right now of what potential revenue you have, but that'd still be profitable at that. The only way it does not become profitable is if that price goes down below 6.5 something, and then the hash rate doubles. Now you're looking at getting close to break even to power. So bottom line, it's a lot more profitable than what stuff was before when we first started getting into this, compared to like Dogecoin and all that. So I think you're going to be in good shape, but it's not, you're not going to make a ton of money right overnight with this. I mean, this is, I've never, a lot of people give people scrutiny about, mining and selling their coins, and it's killing the market and stuff. But you got to understand what the point of what a lot of people that are getting into this is this isn't for your health. You're going to do this to get in, to make some money. Some of it's an investment. So you have an investment in your gear. And then you're going to store your coin, and then if that value goes up, if that value proposition gets to a point to where the more revenue, it gets to be worth more per coin, then at some point, yeah, you may exercise some of that option to sell and make some money like any other investment. So, people that are in it for the mining, you're the worker. So you're taking your money and taking your hardware to hold the network up for the developers to make cool API applications and try to give more value proposition to the network. We're just upholding the network. That's what we're doing. That's what the mining operation is. So the whole point of it is to take some level of revenue. So don't let anybody give you shit about not getting revenue out of it. That's the point of it. So but it's not the point of the coin. So I want to separate that. Some people are like, oh, you guys are just in it for the point of the blockchain is out there to provide a service for people to build APIs on top of that will work with Bitcoin, and provide other services. But the operation here, of what you're seeing here, what we're doing, is just upholding that network. So it's okay to pull profit if you can. My 290X does 30 mega hash. Do I have the same? Yeah, my most of the 290Xs still hold about 28 to 30 if you're overclocking them. That'll still continue to do that for a time to come. The 390Xs are the same. So if we get back to the main point of this episode, though, we see 5 of these right now putting out 670 mega hash. or sorry, 73 mega hash, and their temps right now got up to about 70 so far on this rig. And that's with that spacing that we have on there. Is a little closer than I normally like it, but it definitely works with these. I would not put this spacing with like the 390s or the 390Xs. It's just too close. And even if you had an external fan on them on a 390, that'd be a little too close. But for this rig, I think it works. I mean, 70's well within acceptability without having an external fan source on it. And right now, I think the ambient down here is probably in the high 70s anyways. So it's pretty decent for 5 cards. We look at what that's actually putting out per card, you know, at 75 divided by that 5 is 15. So that's getting the R7. Again, that is, let me get this light over here. It's going to blind out some of this, which is fine. But that is the R7 370. It's 3 of these guys, which are the 4 gig MSIs. So we got 3 of those in there, and then 2 of these nitros, these Sapphire Nitros. So these are also 4 gig. They're also come overclocked. And they're really close to the same settings stock to the MSI, but we're obviously overriding those settings and going with that 1175 and 1600 core to get this 15 mega hash out of these cards. And that's about 120 watts per card right now overclocked in total usage right now. So not too bad. So do recommend these. These were actually pretty cheap. You can get these around 170 bucks a card, a little less. I think their price on these we're showing about 209, but you can find discounts on these. I mean, we wore out the Micro Center dudes, and they're real awesome anyways. But I think I got these down to like 170 bucks a piece. So you can make a really cheap rig. You do a setup like this. You don't need a huge power supply. Again, we got an 850 on this, and it's 670 watts of power from the wall on these cards. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, and we're gonna shut this one down. We'll do another quick close up of it, and then we'll pull over the other 370 rig, which I have 6 cards in, and kind of show you through that. Bring this over so you can take a look. Now these are pretty cool too. The MSIs light up, so that's kind of cool to see. I'll cut the light out here. around. And again, on this one, we're using the ribbon ones. On the next rig, I'm using the USB risers, so you can use both. And right now, I just have it kind of wrapped up, but we do have an SSD on this. I believe it's a 120 Kingston. This obviously only formats out to 16 gig. So you really don't need a 120, but they were pretty cheap, so we went with that. And again, it just shows that multi-card rigs work perfectly fine. You can run into an issue sometimes if they don't like the same global settings, and you got to get a little crafty on doing individual settings. But right now, that one's running a cool 75 to 73 mega hash. And it's been up for about 22 minutes. So we'll go ahead and get this back up, and I'll get the other rig on. Just wanted to give you a close view of that one. And we're going to go ahead and shut this one down real quick. And then get the other rig up. I'll show you kind of what that one's doing. So again, these 370s are good for about 15 mega hash piece, and are about 120 watts each required. Pull that off there. Again, real rigid design, and that is the thinner angled aluminum to show that that's a possibility too. So we'll pull this one out. And in cometh a little different design. Went a little taller on this one, and did a couple different things different on this particular one. And I'm gonna again take a real quick overview of this one with the camera. That way you can take a look at it in more detail. And you guys can see how we went a little higher on the actual kind of the stilts that hold up the cards. They have a little more airflow below, and then we actually had another item added here that allowed us to work with the USB risers a little more efficiently than our current design, and we'll go through how we put that together, which actually holds, it rests just under and allows the USB risers to sit on it, holding the cards up and not towards the back and kind of getting in the way of the wires and stuff. But we'll go through that here real quick. I'll actually, and I do not have this motherboard screwed down yet. We were just kind of putting this together kind of quickly, but I'm going to set it up right, that way we can take a look at it. So we'll get a side view of this first. Again, these cards in this type of build, in this case, are rock solid in this this design, where I can set it up on its side and stuff without too much difficulty. Flip on the night shot here. You see the kind of design kind of down with the way these risers are set, holding it up, kind of coming down. This essentially is a 5-inch piece that rests right up against the back of this underneath, bolted down there, and then just a thin piece of wood centered under there, and then this is backed up against this angled aluminum, like so, and then just straight across, same kind of setup on the other. Adds a lot of room in between the motherboard and the bottom of the risers to give it a lot of extra space to work with. We'll slide this back down and give you a more of a better view here. Let's see if I can get, so you can see the scale of how tall. Again, this is 11 inches from top to bottom. So what we'll do is show you essentially the bottom of that's the full 11-inch riser. Now normally this piece here is 6.5, or sorry, it's 8. Usually we do it at 9 inches, not 6.5. 9-inch. So we went a couple more inches on this. So this normal piece is usually 9 inches. I think a couple of our rigs we had 8.5 on this height, and it just brings the cards down to about right there, which doesn't give a ton of room underneath. So you're using a little more angled aluminum. Again, this is just kind of sitting in here for right now. We actually need to get a few more of our little spacers that we put on under here, but wanted to get this running for tonight's live feed. And then this angle here from here to here is 16 inches. So this kind of makes a 16-inch square. And then an 11-inch down this way, 16 down this way. And then you don't need another angled aluminum on this side, just because I mean, you got this 1x3 wood that really holds this together, really sturdy. So you don't need to spend the extra to have another angled aluminum right there. But again, these are the Asus STRIX gaming 370s. So we got 6 of these in here. You can see the size, not really that long. And this is what I was talking about with the PCB ending right here, and then, you know, 1.5 inches, a couple inches, the cooler actually goes a little past it. So it makes it interesting when you're putting your risers and stuff together for this. And on this particular rig, we went with a AX860, which is a Platinum Corsair power supply. Now, with these overclocked, that kind of taxes that power supply. And we'll see that here in a second. It holds them up, but I'm going to have to recommend that you're going to go with a higher power supply if you're going to do a 6-card rig of this. And you kind of see why. The while this works, and it was a little ambitious to have an 860 run all of this anyways, because I was doing the math on seeing how the 5 only takes 600 and figuring, oh, 860 would be fine. These STRIX actually use a little more power than the other two cards that we were just looking at. And with the overclock settings on them and the fans bumped to 100, this actually exceeds that 860 just a little bit. Now the Platinum power supply can handle it, and it's handled it for a while. We actually let this rig run for almost 3 days like this to see if the 860 would nuke itself or if it actually could handle it, and it's handling it fine. And you'll see that I'm getting it plugged in now. Plug in a power adapter here. And give it some access to the network. And then give her some juice. Make sure the network's plugged, or the video's plugged in to slot 2, because that's where when you when you're putting these in here, a lot of people ask questions like where to plug it in at. That main 16x channel that's in there, whatever card's plugged into that's going to be your first one that it wants to plug into. So usually on a 6-card mining rig, it's usually the second card that you plug it into, via DVI or HDMI. With EthOS, if you have it plugged into any of these other cards, it thinks of it like another extended monitor. So it'll just be like a blank screen with this logo. So if you see that, you're like more than likely plugged in the wrong card. As this boots up, again, these are going to be the same settings as I had on the other card. The 1175 and 18 or 1600 memory, but we're going to go in there and look at the OS. Let's get that all in there. And there we have the settings, which I'm going to reposition this camera so you guys can see it better. And we'll see if you guys can take a look at that. It does not, EthOS does not synchronize the entire blockchain. It will grab its work. It grabs the DAG file, which is right now is about, I'd have to look it up. I think it's like 1.6 gig ish. And then it starts to work. It doesn't have a full blockchain sync required though. Again, 1175 core, 1600 global memory clock, and power tune of 20 on this particular rig. And here it is. Those 6 cards rocking at a strong 100 mega hash, which is in pretty good order for 6 cards. Let me zoom into this so you can see some of this fun. See if you can see that. So right there at 98 to 100 mega hash for the 6 R7 370 4 gig Asus STRIX. So the next big question is, what kind of power are we pulling? And that's where it gets interesting. So, from the kilowatt, let's see if I can get this over here. Zoom. No lighting on it. I'll just bring the camera over there. And we'll bring her over. So, 930. And it's holding it pretty good. 933 on the kilowatt. Now these cards are at 100% on their fans, and they are overclocked a pretty good clip. With 6 of them with this motherboard and that power supply, and the memory is holding about 930. Throw this night shut on. Some shots of these cards running. Now these ones don't light up or anything like cool like the MSI's did. They're pretty straightforward, dual cooler design. You can see the USB riser where we have it set up. And the way it sets on the go. They just set right on top of that little holder. And that little thing that looks like a face of Jesus is actually just part of the tree bark. Now these do have a little light indicator on them showing they got power to with the 6-pin, and these cards all use a single 6-pin. So that allows you to use something like this 860 watt AX 860 on 6 of these, because there's enough connectors that come with that 800 watt power supply to actually supply enough power without using adapters to all these cards. So, but as we can tell with this, and the reason why I was recommending a more powerful power supply is over 900 watts on an 860. It's great that, and it's a testament to Corsair for making a rock solid product. It is not ideal to be running damn near 1,000 watts through an 860 watt power supply. So, but it runs it good. Now these are running a little warmer than I would like on the typical rig. We'll bring this camera back over here. So, video just off a little. This one of those cards is this secondary one right down here, running at close to 80 Celsius. I mean, it's not the end of the world for it, but some of that has to do with this being 16 inches and not having a ton of space in between these spots. But this is a rig that I'd actually have probably another fan or something coming on and blowing across the top, or just through the rig with this open space that this rig has. You can add a lot of air flow with it. But 78's looking like what it's about holding. Oh, 79 is making me a liar. But again, 98 mega hash on 370s, so not a bad gig. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show for the last part of this live stream the kind of how to get around and operate EthOS. Get a lot of questions with, I want to edit. I don't know how to do anything in EthOS. Like most Windows stuff, you can click and drag and hold, grab one of these boxes, move it around. By doing stuff, if you want to stop that mining feed, you can hit a Control C, which stops it, takes you back out to the shell, the command prompt for you Windows users. The VI is kind of like editor. It's an editor. When you first get this OS out of the box, it's automatically set up to go to the the developer's ETH account, which is done through the remote. So one of the very first steps in there is you do a VI remote.conf. You enter that, and then there's going to be a URL in there, and you want to delete it. Pull this down some so you can see that. So it'll be right up here, a little URL. You just want to move your cursor, your mouse, or your number. Shit. Hold on. Let me just bring it up. use your arrow keys and navigate over to the left of it, and or your delete key, and just delete it. Just hit delete, hold it down, or move to the back of it and do a backspace on it and get rid of it. Then you want to do a shift colon and then X. So escape, shift, colon, and then X, which just saves and lets you exit it. Then that'll take you back out to the command prompt again. Then you want to do a vi local.config. That brings you into what will use a local version of its configuration file for you to be able to set up stuff and mine locally with this rig. One of the very first things is the max GPU that they have default is 85. I always set ours to 95 because we do a lot of testing. You can leave it at 85. But quite frankly, if it shuts down and you're at work or something, you're probably going to want to throw something at something. Your GPUs would be fine at 90 Celsius. It's not the end of the world. 95 is probably pushing it, and you'll end up artifacting them over time if they reach much more hotter than that over a long period of time. But I recommend putting it up to 90 at most, and that's purely that you don't want them running to 90. Monitor at the top left and just see what they're doing. Put a fan on it. But if you're gone somewhere and it's running, this is like pro tip. You want it to keep running. Let me bring the camera back for those folks trying to look at the top there. See if you can see that. Oh, that's zoomed in. So in the upper left hand corner, or yeah, if you're looking at it, the upper left hand corner, let me just grab the camera. This tripod's not working out. It's more annoying than it's anything else. So your monitor in the upper left hand corner, those are all your GPUs from left to right. And that it usually has a pretty good correspondence to the PCI slot that they're in. So 1 through 6. 1 through 6. Which is why that one that's 59 Celsius right now is the one that's on the end over here, which is able to pull in air, and it doesn't have another card on its other side, so it's not absorbing the heat from that other card. So this one stays pretty cool because it's all the way to the right. Well, the one over here has this next immediate card sandwiched next to it, and it's pulling all that heat off of it. And additionally, you have some heat coming off the CPU fan and blowing up in here. So this is like the getting hot boxed right here. So this one's a little warm. Right now it's holding about 80. And the one to the left of it doesn't have anything over here, so the back plate actually can get a little cool. So it's, 5 degrees Celsius less. This one's a little more hot boxed, so it's 77. And then as it goes down, because it gets away from being more hot boxed, these cards get less and less heat. So the one that usually gets nuked is this one. And we've done some case designs where they're a little longer and you give a little more room for this one. Bringing the case up some to get it away from the CPU and all the extra temp that comes from here. And then have it a little longer to where these are a little more spread out. You can save some temperature. But that max temperature right there, what that does is it says if any of these cards breach that max temp, it kills the mining for you. It leaves the OS up. The OS will still stay running, and what you'll see is a statement right where it says that it's hashing right now. Instead of it saying it's hashing, it'll say the miner has stopped. Type allow to have it to start up again. And what that's meaning is when you're out of this area, and if I just get out of it real quick, and you're here at the command, and you go to type allow, it's wanting you to type allow here to have it get mining again. So like, I'm just gonna stop this right now. I'm gonna hit mine stop, which just shut down the mining on this right now, right? So I told the mining to stop, it has terminated. Now this is telling me that it's been manually stopped, because that's a true statement. I manually stopped it. So if you type allow, this is going to allow it to go because there was no problems. If it shut down because of that max temperature, it's going to give you an error saying that it was shut down due to a GPU temperature issue. So just long story short, if you set it up a little higher, it allows the cards to raise a little higher if you're gone and away from it, like during the day if you're at work or something. And when you come back, if they're running hot, put a fan on it or something, but at least it doesn't stop mining for you. Again, 95 is not ideal, but it's not going to kill your card. The oops, I'm going to go back into local dot config. It's config, but it's just conf. You don't type all the way to config. And you come back in. So when you first come in here, to do any interaction, you need to type insert, or you need to hit the insert key. This guy right here. That lets you know that you're able to do some editing. So then you want to come in here and you want to delete the proxy wallet, and you want to put in your wallet address. And I'm going to tell you right now, another pro tip: you cannot use Poloniex or any of the other exchange hot wallets. We've sold a few of these rigs to people, and they've given us their exchange hot wallet because we come in there as a courtesy and type in their hot wallet for them, or their wallet for them, and then when they weren't mining when they received them, and their error was the wallet address they gave us was a wallet address that was not allowing it to be mined to. So download a wallet and you use an address from that, or online wallet, however you want to do it. Just exchange wallets don't always work. Then your pool address will probably stay the same. All I would say is if you first get this and it's version 1.02, they use ETHPool in that. When you update it, it will switch it to ethermine.org. So another pro tip is if you started mining on this pool and then for some reason you're like, hey, it's not mining that anymore, I don't know why it's not showing up, check this config and make sure that you did not get switched to ethermine.org. You'll know real quick when the port number is 4444. The next one, the global flags, I usually don't mess with any of that. It works fine with that. That's okay with the way it's set right now with Ethereum. 16384 is fine. Global fan, the stock is usually like 85. 85 should be fine. 100 eventually will burn out your fans. 60 is ideal if you have an external fan on your cards, though. If you can run those global fan setting at 60 or less because you have an external box fan or something on them, it's a lot cheaper to replace a box fan and a lot less pain in the ass. So what I recommend is bringing that global core down, or that global fan down if you can, or if you can put your rig in an area where you can go buy a cheap box fan and put the fan on those, versus burning out your graphics card fans. Right now I'm running 100 with them right now because we're doing this demo and I don't want to run them at, you know, less than 100 without putting their temperatures way up. Global core and global mem are also, those are settings that you'll end up typing in there out of the box. EthOS does not come with those typed in. They have examples of them down here in the bottom just to show, but those matter very much on overclocking and the power tune. On like the 390s and 390Xs, you can go take a power tune all the way up to 50. But the 20 works well with this configuration. Again, this is the R7370 configuration that I recommend. That works very well. We've tried 3 different cards with it, and it works real well with them. Again, these cards at 100 with 6 of them in there, you're looking at about 16.5, close to 17 mega hash a card, which is very good. And the whole rig underneath 1,000 watts for 100 mega hash is real good power efficiency. These are actually phenomenal, and they're cheap. About 170 bucks a piece. So it's a relatively cheap rig. I think you can put this entire rig together with power supply. You're talking just under 1,000 for the cards. So you're probably looking at about $1,300, $1,400 for a rig like this, fully built for 100 mega hash. So it's actually a really good deal. Let me look at any questions you guys have. Let me put this back up here. Be real shaky. Let's reset back. All right. Now let's do an R for a reboot and see what we got here. And some little rubber boots for the bottom of these rigs, especially here on slippery surface. These are nice little rubber kind of grommet looking things. Throw underneath. Rig. Nice little boot. So let's take a look at some of these questions. So yeah, some people asking, oh yeah, the 12 GPUs in a single rig. So on the next live stream, we ordered those this weekend. So the next live stream, we're going to do a live build with that. So we'll make sure that we have that. We tried the 16, 25, 115. We did try 1625, 1650, and 1675, and it's just 1175 and 1600 seem to work really well with these cards. Again, that's that 16.5, 17 mega hash, which is about the top of what I've seen on the 370s. I've seen some reports where people are getting supposedly close to 18.3 mega hash out of their 370s. There's a few other brands that we have not tried. Again, earlier in the live stream, and you'll see this when it gets uploaded, I had the MSI and the Sapphires. Those have about roughly the same output as these. Actually, these STRIX were a little faster because these are about 16.3 mega hash per card, where the other two are doing about 15, 15.2. So the Asus are a little faster, but they use more power. Because the 5 cards on that other rig were only using 670 watts of power, and I'm not going to be 300 more watts of power for either of those cards. So that total rig power is going to be more like right at 800 watts versus this is using 120 more watts than I was expecting it to. So that seems like a lot more for some reason. We're going to do some more testing, try different risers just to see if because these risers are powered risers. I can't imagine them using, maybe they're using 5 watts more per. That'd be another 30, 6 times 5, that's another 30 more watts I was expecting for the risers to use, but they have the same hard drive. They are different power supplies. One's an 860 Platinum from Corsair, and the other one's an EVGA 850, which is also a Platinum power supply. That's another alternative, is swapping out the power supplies, putting in the 850 in this, and then seeing if I have the same kind of return. I don't think it'll be too much different. We've already done a little testing with silver, gold, bronze, and platinum power supplies on the same rig to see huge differences, and there's a noticeable difference from a bronze to a platinum. That's definitely a noticeable change. But I want to do that with a real powerful rig and do that as a different live stream for folks. So yeah, this thing's sitting right at 100 mega hash. That's really good for this rig. ETH pool or ETH mine? That's a good question. So we had built a few weeks back a rig as 2 rigs that were exactly the same. There's 2 4-card 390 dual dissipation XFX rigs. So it was 8 cards in total, 2 different rigs, the same exact setup. Both of them had everything the same, and I put one on each and then kicked them off. And ETH mine actually gave more return than ETH pool did. To the point of, it wasn't double, but it was a good probably 30% more ether was attained on ETH mine with both of those. Mind you, both of those rigs were about 130 mega hash each. But from what I can tell is that on ETH pool, if I have 500 mega hash pointed to it, I think the curve right now, and the only way we can do this is just point all of our mega hash at it, or split our mega hash in half and do it. Just, I think volume is going to pay more on ETH pool than it will on ETH mine. But for very low powered, if you have 100 mega hash, 50 mega hash, something like that, ETH mine seems to be your best return. Plus you can get more ether quick, or you can get the ether quicker. because you don't have to wait for a full block to come to you. So there is some advantage in that if you want your ether faster. But again, we did that test, and ETH mine ended up coming out better when it was just 2 of the same rig. Let's see what the other questions are. Do questions for another few minutes. Is there any way to get rid of it, or is it plug in a rig for 15 minutes or so? Is it command clear to overheat air? It's a good question on the command and overheat air. I think there is. When you go to hit allow, it's just parsing that log real quick to see if there was an issue. I think if you clear that log, it's fine. It'll kick it off because it doesn't know that there was an error in that log. You'll have to edit the log, the mine log, and clear it. You could just do an R for the reboot and just let it do a quick reboot, which also will clear the log on the reboot, and that'll let it kick back off again. That's what we usually do if it got kicked down because of temperature. I've had a couple of rigs where the fans got knocked off, the power supply or the power strip that had some external fans blowing on them went off, and it made the rigs rise over 90 Celsius. And they shut off, and I just do an R for reboot on them, and it works. What would a rig like this one earn? Yeah, that's about right. Barracuda answered it. It's about 11 is a fair amount on a rig like this. A rig like this, again, about $1,400 at most. If you can get the best deal you can find is if you can get these cards, like you're gonna have to buy probably a few brand new, but if you can go to like a place like Micro Center that has a few open boxes and you get a couple of these cards for like $120, that's gonna save you a ton on recouping it. A rig like this is about 3 months and recouping at the current prices, maybe almost 4 months. And that's if hash rates grow at the rate that they're at right now, which month over month since December has been about 17% each month. Besides this last month, the hash rate only went up like less than 7%. So if it's tailing off finally to where it's not going to rise exponentially, then yeah, about 3 months this rig pays for itself. That's at current prices. You know, half this game is about if prices go up. They go back up to 15, it makes it a lot more profitable type of situation. There are no that other question that we had there about is there any other, nothing right now is as profitable as Ethereum that we know of, but if anything is, if time is showing anything, will there be another coin if Ethereum goes to proof of stake? I mean, we've been doing this. Well, I was doing this before anybody else, or before any of the other folks that are around for BBT. I was doing this early, late 2010, with GPUs, 5870s. So the hardware's gotten better, but the same concept has been there since 2010. A new coin comes around, and there's hardware to support it. So yes, I would say there's still people that pull out their old, 7870s and cards and are now mining Ethereum because it's profitable. Well, there'll be another card, I have absolutely no doubt there will, because there's a demand. There's a demand for this effort, and there's a lot of infrastructure out there now that people do this stuff. So if Ethereum goes to proof of stake, there will be something else, I have no doubt. That's what's nice about getting your rig paid off. We did have an Instagram. I don't think we ever really used it. I do want to get it reset back up. I do not think that's us, though, if you're asking us that. $7050s. I'm assuming 7850s running at 52 mega hash. I'm assuming that's a 7850. Yeah. It's gotta be. That would make about sense. 12.5 piece. Yeah, that's about right. They're about 120-ish watts per card, so that's about. And then you got your motherboard, and yeah, that's not bad. Probably a silver power supply, I would assume. It could be gold. You know, one of the other questions is, you know, you can see these rig materials. Here's kind of more of a longer one. So we get these at our local Lowe's, and here is the actual if I can get this to autofocus on this. I don't know if it's seeing too much in the background. I have to focus on it separately. So it's angled aluminum. The 1/16. That's the thickness of how thick this is. By 1 inch, which is this side, and this side is 1 inch, so it's 1 inch long right here. And then you get these in 8 foot. You can buy them in 6 foot, you can buy them in 4 foot there, but one of these 1/16 by 1 inch by 8 foot, which is 96 inches, is about $10. So you get a 96 inch total on one of these. You'll go through a couple of these for building a rig like this. So about $20 in angled aluminum is what you'll spend. And then you'll get some spacers for your motherboard. These little screws are another maybe $4 or $5 for a pack of the self-tapping screws. And like we showed in the other rig, you can go with the thinner, the 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, you know, width or depth. Angled aluminum works fine too. So this just gives a little more rigid, and if you're going to go a lot longer on the Devil's Den box that we're going to be building for the next live stream, those are triple DIN cards, so you know, about that long for each, or that width of each card, and they're about that long. So I'm looking at probably 30 inch, maybe 35 inch long rig, which will probably have the 11 inch height, and then probably a full 18 inch versus 16.5 inch depth, because I'm going to have two 1600 watt EVGA titaniums on that. So If we can get 12 GPUs on one of these boards, which would be 2 GPUs per card across the 6, that might actually break some YouTube records for cryptocurrency, because I don't think anybody else has done that. So we will see what it does and if it's in the realm of the possible. So I think I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then we'll cut this live stream at an hour and a half. Yeah, I hear you. I don't think I'm going to be OS. OS is where the main limitation will be, but there are with server 2012. That's what runs GPU clusters, which do a lot of like cryptography, cracking, which are like 24 GPU 4U server type of boxes. Those use actual Xeon processors for the PCIe channels, and actually use Windows OS server 2012 as its OS, which can handle more GPUs. It's just a matter of if I'm going to need special drivers and the SDK for AMD CL, and have to do some kind of custom configuration. But we're going to try to get it with one of them, and if I have to get 2012 server on there and we got to go with a Xeon processor, we're gonna try to get the work. You can get Xeon processors for the 1150 chipset, and we'll see. And what was the question? Yes. Can you use no, wait a minute. Can you use PCIe writers on regular USB 3.0 ports? No. If you're talking about plugging in USB here and then coming straight into the back of the graphics card, you need the PCIe card to be plugged into a PCIe slot. So you can't go from a PCI, you can't go from the bottom of a graphics card, the adapter, using the USB and then go into a USB slot. It has to go into a daughter card down here, because you're interacting with the graphics bus through the motherboard back to the CPU graphics channels. It can't go straight into a USB. I mean, theoretically, I guess if you could write a system layer driver to say and emulate that, but there's nothing that I know has been written like that and done. I mean, I would think anything's in the realm of the possible, but as far as I know, that's not been done. But it might be a challenge for somebody watching the video if you can code in Python and hack OSs. I could imagine there being tons and tons of latency, just because the USB channel, even USB 3.0, when you look at the way a PCIe 1X or a 16X is set up, and the dedicated infrastructure on the motherboard to route the bus, to try to emulate that through a USB, I would think you'd have a huge amount of latency. That's just one of those things where hardware is so much harder than, so much more than software emulation. But all right. scroll up and make sure I didn't miss any crazy questions. And we'll end this live stream. Showed you guys a couple different 370 builds. And then again, our next video will do the Devil's Den, or the Devil's 13 dual GPU. We're looking at that. Those cards should be in on Tuesday, and then we're gonna build the actual rig for them to go in during the week, and then I'll look at next weekend doing the live stream for it. Just check us on Twitter. I'm gonna try to get the Instagram account fixed. I'll be tweeting little micro videos and stuff about them before it. I'll probably throw some stuff out, a couple of the exchanges with some images and videos, and show people kind of as they come in how they look and stuff, and get kind of an early look. I know a lot of people are just curious of like how fast are they buy just one card, how much heat does it put out, how much energy is it using, that kind of thing. Those are all important factors, but you know, stuff we try to build is, you know, like over the top. You know, let's put 6 of them in one rig. I want to do the same thing with the AMD Duos when those come in. I never got a chance to do that with the 295s. And they're just hard to get. I mean, a lot of them are secondhand now. A lot of them, we had a couple, they were artifacting, but we'll get that together. So, you know, I'd just say stay tuned and check Twitter. Oh yeah, and I got pointed out here. A couple of you loyal people. What I'm going to do is have you guys, we got bitsbetrippin@gmail.com. You guys send me, just send us a note if you are on the live stream. And I'll see if I'll respond back to a few of you guys. And I'll hook you guys up with some shirts. So I'll bounce you guys back. We have several of these. They're mining like a boss. It's got the Ethereum logo, BBT logo on them. I got a whole bunch of different sizes. Just drop us a line on our BBT at Gmail. We'll get some of these out to you guys. Again, all the rigs that we sell to, I usually throw these in. These are kind of like just an extra ad. I got XLs, double XLs. We're gonna get a couple other different shirts and views, or a different couple logos and stuff, and something more subtle, where it's just like the BBT with a small little Ethereum logo, something like that. But again, you know, we haven't sold those. We usually just give them away. You know, again, this isn't the stuff that we're, you know, making a ton of money on. This is just more for just the benefit to, you know, help the community grow and answer questions and stuff. Our gift to the world type of stuff. So, yeah, drop us a line on there and we'll see if we can get you guys some shirts out there too. Let's see what else we got here, and then we'll wrap it up. Here, I'll get you this. That's our email. So just drop us a thing on there and we'll get some people some shirts out there, and then yeah, you'll probably see a few of these up. We have a eBay account. We also do a lot of other just custom builds for groups and stuff for folks. But again, everything we buy, I usually tweet it and explain it, and I'll give you the settings that we can find and stuff. So we'll get some stuff together for you. So thanks for hanging in there, guys. It's been an hour and 30, and we'll wrap this one up, and I'll see you guys online, and when those double 13s get in, we'll be tweeting the shit out of them. So stay tuned to it.